Hello and welcome to No Particular Order, Mana Biscuit's weekly top five list show where we list our top five whatevers in no particular order. This week, the top five times we've been teased. All right, as always, we're going to get right into our list this week. It's the top five teasers, trailers, promos, promises of things to come that got us the most excited. So let's see. Jay, I have decided.
Oh, you
You
have
go first.
decided. All right. Mine are a combination of things that either A, lived up to it, or B, didn't live up to it. One of the cases, first one on my list, did not live up to it, and that was the Blair Witch Project, the original found footage hype movie that began it. I mean, while it didn't begin, I'm sure that there's stuff before this that began that trend. For me, it began that trend. It was the introduction to the using the web as the World Wide Web back then,
Right.
as RJ pointed out, to further a plot line, to further a mythos, and it. Well, I walked in there and wound up with a headache. It was too shaky for found footage for me, and just no, couldn't do it.
Fair enough.
Next up on the list did live up to the hype, and that was Wrath of the Lich King. Now we had a discussion of this off the off camera.
Yep.
Thank you. Talking about talking about the fact that it is the fall of the whether or not it is actually the fall of World of Warcraft itself, but I don't know, man. The storylines. It was a completionist thing. It
It really wrapped up
finished
Arthas.
something. Yes,
it
it
really
really
wrapped
wrapped up a
Arthas. Yeah.
storyline that had been going on since Warcraft.
Yep.
Next up on the list was another thing that didn't live up to the hype, and that's the Old Republic MMO. I was all sorts of stoked for this Star Wars. I got into the beta. It was everything that I didn't think it should be. And
Fair enough. That's fine.
ultimately, I walked away from it. I didn't even
Yeah.
it didn't last, but what, 6 months, and then went free to play.
Yeah.
Sadly, from what I understand, and I may pick it back up again because it did some of the thing the most recent expansion actually did some things that I thought that they should have done all along. Next
enough.
one that did live up to the hype, Walking Dead season 2 the end of season 2, when the farm is overrun, everybody's scattered, nobody knows where who is what, and it just left you hanging. And because AMC is so tight with that kind of stuff, you didn't know what happened for the 4 months that it took for season 3 to come out. Now, last on my list, and this is something that lives up to the hype, and lives up to the hype to this day every time I deal with this, and that is the Doritos Locos Tacos. They are far and away the most delicious thing that Taco Bell has ever come up with. I thought maybe the Crunch Berry Cream thingies might come close. No,
they're good, but no.
They're good, but
yeah,
they're not.
the Doritos
They're not,
Locos.
Oh goodness,
Mhm.
and the Cool Ranch ones.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And
I'm
then
going to talk
they
about
had they also the cheesy gordita crunches, which were
Oh God, so good.
and then they did those with Doritos Locos. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah.
Oh, this is why I'm fat. All right. TJ, why don't you go next?
All right. First off on my list is Jurassic Park, and it wasn't actually the trailer for Jurassic Park that hit me. They put out the paperback of the novel with the little placard thing on the front that says soon to be a major motion picture, like 4 years before the movie came out, and I was super psyched the entire time. And I read that book probably too young of an age, really. Like there's some
I think
some
most
graphic,
people do. Yeah.
there's some graphic stuff in there, man.
Most people our age did, I think, read it
Yeah.
too young.
Next one. Star Wars Episode 1. Back when there was still hope. Back when there was still hope that the prequel trilogy was going to be good.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my god, new Star Wars. Uh, Third on my list is also World of Warcraft. Jay already touched on it. I'm going with the Burning Crusade. That trailer with Illidan, and then having to wait like a year and a half, and just being like, and I was like deep in my addiction, like not the depths of it, but already pretty deep in. So yeah, that hit me pretty hard.
And you're like, I am so prepared. Just give it to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next was the trailer for Watchmen. Just gave me chills, like goosebumps, and it came out. I saw it just before Batman Begins, so it was just like a perfect storm. I'm like super psyched for Batman, and then they put out this trailer. I'm like, wait, what's this? And it was a Smashing Pumpkins song for the music. I'm like, I know this song, and it's like slow and kind of gloomy. I'm like, all right, and then like the Warner Brothers logo floats up, and then it cuts into the actual scenes. I'm like, no way. The movie ended up being, I think, as good as the translation as you could have for a comic that it was widely considered to be unfilmable. But yeah, that trailer, I'll still go back and watch that trailer, and I still want to see that movie. And then my final one on my list was the ending of a film teasing the next film in a series. It was the end of X-Men 2 when you see the Phoenix underneath the water.
Yes.
And you know that they're going to do the Phoenix saga for the third movie, which they didn't, and they botched it, and it was horrible, and I wish everybody involved were in my apartment so I could punch them in the face. But
right now.
But I left that theater and stood around in a circle with a bunch of people, which I think included you guys.
Yes, it did.
And we just stood around just going, dude.
Hey, I know, dude, and then dude. And yes,
dude. And still to this day, because of that movie, that's my reference point for that kind of excitement. I will ask people to come and see a movie and go dude with me.
Nice.
So those are my top 5 teasers.
Excellent choices. For me, when we decided this list, the first thing I went to do in my mind was go back to the time when I worked in a movie theater about anywhere from about 16 to 13 years ago, which included X2. I got you guys in on that show. That was so awesome. Yeah.
Oh, man.
X2, The Lord of the Rings. There were a couple of them.
Brief tangent that I can't resist. I just remember Nick after the fight scene with Nightcrawler in the beginning of Nightcrawler fight scene in the White House. And as that scene ended, he's just like, thank you, RJ. Like, you're welcome, dude. This is awesome. Anyway, so going back to that time, I had to think, because you see so many trailers, which ones did I not get sick of? And that was actually the original Lord of the Rings trailer. Just over and over again, watched it, so stoked every time. And
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was great. And the movies were pretty good. Next up from Comic Hype. And this was like a lot of like friends word of mouth for me stuff, because this is like in 1993. You know, it wasn't even it was the World Wide Web at that point, but there was no Google. There was barely Alta Vista. There was no series of blogs where you just knew everything was coming.
If you needed to know something, you had to ask Jeeves about it.
Yeah. Or your buddies down at the comic shop, and that's the Age of Apocalypse. Yeah, I was terrified and stoked for it all at the same time, because I was so into the X-Men characters at the point in time. And when I started hearing, you know, like some of the stuff they were going to do, I'm like, no, that's stupid. But then Wolverine and Jean would be cool. And, you know, it's just, it was probably the point in time when I loved the comic books the absolute most as a kid. So next up, also in the comic book vein, but in the film, going back to the idea of the Stinger, or the end of the movie, I guess, because the Phoenix wasn't really a stinger. But anyway, the Nick Fury Stinger in Iron Man. And everything that's happened over the last 7 years, you knew it was coming, and there was so much hope and so much promise, and there's going to be an Avengers movie, guys, and
they fulfilled it beautifully.
Yes, they did. Next up, Mass Effect 3 trailer. Mass Effect is, I say without reservation, my favorite game series of all time. From a story standpoint, somewhat from a gameplay standpoint, but from a story standpoint, it's so far up my alley, it might as well be the dumpster behind a Chinese place. It's I absolutely love it.
What?
That was great.
When that trailer comes out and you see, you see the Reapers, I had to calm myself there. When you see the effing Reapers coming at Earth, and Shepard is, running. Oh man, you could have hung raincoats off my nipples. Last up on my list is going back to that era in the 90s when the web was still in its infancy and web promotion was still kind of new and exciting, and that is the movie Pi by Darren Aronofsky. Absolute twisted psychological thriller. Loved the movie, but as I saw, some of the promotion leading up to it, I came across this website that sort of they didn't really have the term ARG then, but it was kind of an ARG thing where you could sort of deep dive into the mythology and conspiracy theories that they were exploring in the film. And it was really cool. I spent like 2 or 3 different afternoons in the computer lab at St. Clair County Community College doing that. And I found a link to a Kabbalah site on a Baptist church that linked back to the Baptist church that I grew up in. So it always stuck with me because of that weird sort of early internet Kevin Bacon thing, I guess. But, and then also the Kabbalah, the conspiracy, the drill in the hole in your head, Yeah. Great film. Great list, guys. All right, let's, do we have any honorable mentions this week? Because Cloverfield. Yeah, that didn't up up on anybody's list. Yeah. And there was, you mentioned it was like a big ARG thing leading up to that.
Yeah, it was. Like, there was all this stuff about this, like, weird Japanese beverage company called Slusho, and that they had somehow disturbed something. Like, one of their ingredients for this energy drink thing was something that they were getting from the bottom of the ocean. They were, like, drilling stuff and, like, deep sea drilling to get their hands on it. And then it disturbed what ended up being the Cloverfield monster, and all kinds of like weird,
nice
stuff. It was cool. A friend of ours, a friend of the show, actually bought one of the Slusho hats from the website and wore it for years.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I don't really have any honorable mentions past that. So let's move right into the top 5 of the top 5. Boy, it's hard for me from my list, but I think the one thing that might have the most universal appeal to all of us would probably be Lord of the Rings or Age of the Apocalypse.
Lord of the Rings, probably.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. From Jay, Doritos Locos Tacos, hand down. Let's see. TJ, I'm going to go with the Phoenix. Absolutely. Yep. Yes, without a doubt. And let's get 2 more. We got 3. Nick Fury. Nick Fury's good. Nick Fury
talking about the Avengers Initiative.
Yep. And I'm going to say maybe a bit of a cop-out, but I will say the 90s web-based teasers, including both Pi. Yeah, including both Pi and the Blair Witch in that, because they were both very similar in how they approached it. So, all right. Well, that's our top 5 of our top 5. You got all of our top 5 lists as well as an honorable mention. Join us next week when it will be top 5 something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Top 5 numbers from 1 to 5.
Oh, it's all about 2, baby. No, 2.
4.
3. Good God.
Oh, Lord. We'll hash this out, and we will see you next week with more No Particular Order. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.